Hello everyone. Welcome to our session for Pulumi and Scaleway. And I have also a guest. I'm very excited since I probably weeks to welcome you, Diego, in our little web session. And yeah, let me pass to you and introduce yourself.
Hi, thanks for having me. Yes, I'm Diego. I'm a developer advocate at Scaleway. Scaleway is a cloud provider uh, located here in Europe with data centers in Paris and Amsterdam and Warsaw. And yeah, I'm here wanting to learn in public with you. I'm a web developer. I've been doing web stuff for the last 10 years, but recently I made a big change jumping to the clouds, and this is completely new to me. It's a new world, but I'm really excited to explore and learn more and approach things as a new person in this world.
Yeah, that's perfect. So you're absolutely right here because with Pulumi and infrastructure as code, we have the developer in mind, and you will see also when you start working on it how naturally and close it feels to your normal development work. So I'm interested to see your feedback after all, and yeah, that's a thing. I see also that we have already some viewers inside. They greeting us, but I don't know how I can display the message on the screen. So I say hi to everyone. New comments will be displayed here. Perfect. So, Diego, should we just start so we don't lose any time and we can see all about? But would be interesting,
It's on
first
me.
of all, if you can give us a little intro about Scaleway, because I'm not sure if everybody knows about Scaleway and the services. So feel free.
For sure, yeah. I have a short presentation over here. Let me share my screen. Do, 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 do. Now, which screen switch? Okay, I think it's this one. There we go. You tell me when it's live.
Yeah, perfect.
All right, yeah, it's a short presentation. So yeah, Scaleway, as I told you, is a cloud provider, and we have all the basic services and more than that you can think of. So for instance, if you want virtual machines, we have them. If you want functions, we have them. Databases, there we go. Now, Kubernetes, of course, we have Kubernetes. We have instances on ARM now. Well, we used to have them. Now we have even more. And we will be having some more instances on running with video cards, with GPUs in the near future. So yeah, it's a whole solution for whatever you will need in the cloud. Feel free to ping me if you want to learn more, but definitely check out scaleway.com.
Perfect. That's really nice. So yeah,
That's
I
your point.
use I use Scaleway also privately, so that's very interesting. So when I heard about Scaleway a couple of years ago, I had to try it out, and I was really impressed um, about the offering they had at this time. But now you already grow much more. So I sometimes say that for me, Scaleway is one of the feature complete providers here in Europe, and that's what I really like. So nice then, yeah. Let's jump into our session today. So I will also share, at least on the YouTube chat, the link
Yeah.
to the repository.
What are we doing? What's
Yeah.
my challenge today?
Yeah. So I prepared a workshop for you. So we're going to build in different steps. So we're going to create a Kubernetes cluster, and we're going to use TypeScript just to show, okay, the TypeScript capability of Pulumi using it. Then we step 4 and say, okay, let us create now also a example service, creating a container for it. We use the Docker Kubernetes, the Docker provider from Pulumi, also in TypeScript. So everything is written down. You can create your container. You can put your application logic into your repository, for example. So that's one part. The next part will be then to say, okay, let us deploy using Pulumi onto the Kubernetes cluster. That's the next part. But again, this is a very simple example. So let us step in the next chapter a little bit the difficulty and deploy Flux. So we're going to create the Kubernetes cluster. We're going to use Pulumi to deploy the Flux onto the cluster and then point directly to a repository in GitHub where our application logic lies in. And then we can continue from there, changing some values, and Flux should automatically deploy the application. And last but not least, we also add some bonus chapter on it. Everybody talks currently about internal developer platform. So I was like, okay, let us add Port to it. Port is a low-code, no-code platform. And we can easily create also via Pulumi every blueprint we need inside Port to have at least a service catalog capability. So we should see our Scaleway Kubernetes cluster in Port and also see as an inventarization of everything which is deployed inside the cluster, also the Helm releases. So that's going to be really, really funny. Yeah, that's the
Right.
goal.
And how many hours do we have today for that?
Yeah, it's a little bit challenging, but I think we will manage this because most of the parts inside the example repository is everything prepared. So you don't need to write everything from scratch, and we can just focus on some of the important parts. So yeah, feel free.
All right. Yeah, so I was aware of the challenge. Yeah, so that was just fake. I did know, but I just set up some basic stuff here just to make sure that we didn't lose any time setting things up. So I'm going to share my screen again. This always takes time. Got it. Am I sharing the right screen?
No, you don't share anything.
These things happen live all the time.
Now you're sharing. And now.
How about now? Yeah.
Perfect.
There we go.
Perfect.
So yeah, this is the repo that Engin was mentioning. And kudos on the organization of the whole steps here. So now I know that I can go to step 0, 1, 2, 3, or 4, 5. So that's really cool. I already set up Pulumi locally, Node.js, Go, the Scaleway CLI, Docker was pre-installed on the environment, kubectl, I do have a Docker account, Helm and FluxD were also installed. So let's jump into the step 0.
You may need to increase a little bit the font size.
Yeah, that's true. So let's check the cluster setup steps. So over here, you were saying that we need to clone the repo, and I did. One important thing to note is that I'm using devpod to set the whole environment automatically. automatically for me, which is really cool. You can install devpod and then you create a workspace. And over here, you select which kind of where's the source, where's the repo you want to work on, and then you select a provider. You have a bunch of providers, and if you want to use Scaleway, it just so happens that our man here, Engin, was the creator of the Scaleway provider.
Diego, you need to increase a little bit more the font size. So people, okay, for the devpod, maybe it's not possible, but
unfortunately for this one, actually, they thought about this.
Perfect. Okay, so
yeah, so as I was saying, Engin here is the author of the Scaleway provider for devpod. And that's how I created a workspace for my project today.
Perfect.
Got it. So yeah, I cloned the repo, and then I started Scaleway CLI. I added all the Scaleway CLI. I added all my credentials, and I'm ready to start working on the cluster. Well, to listen the clusters, actually. So over here, I have my Visual Studio Code, and yes, I will zoom in just a second. Appearance, full screen. No, I believe I can use the shortcut. Yeah.
Yeah, perfect. That's...
Good. So yeah, this VS Code is connected to that workspace that's actually running on the virtual machine in Scaleway. Okay, so here we are. Let's clear things up over here. And you're telling me that I need to check the cluster list, right? So
yeah, just to see that your CLI is up and running, so we can see with Scaleway cluster. Okay, so you're communicating.
It
Perfect.
is able to communicate with Scaleway, yeah, with my credentials. So we're good to go. Then I need to run npm install inside the step 0 of the whole workshop, which is cluster setup. And that's where I am right now. So npm install will install the dependencies that we have for this project, which are the types, the dependencies, and then Pulumi and your Scaleway provider, right?
Yeah. Can have a look into the index.ts just to show the example project while it's installing what we created inside.
Totally. Let's have a look at that. So what I can see here is that we are importing Pulumi and Scaleway as dependencies. And then you're creating a cluster config, which is a new Pulumi config. So I'm guessing that brings data from the Pulumi.yaml file.
Yes, that's an important step. So the Pulumi config is we can create on project-based config, which is for all stacks available. And then you can override for your definite stack. So in this case, you're like, okay, that's the perfect setup for a Scaleway cluster. If you then create now a stack, which is similar to a workspace or your environment, so most of the people use dev, prod, or staging, you can override. You can say, as you mentioned, using a GPU-powered node for your prod cluster, but for everything else, you're like, okay, we don't need the biggest nodes, for example. So, and then we can read out this config files with the Pulumi config, just get the key and Pulumi sort out in which stage you are. So
great. So I would be able to change France, Paris to Netherlands, Amsterdam, right?
yeah.
Good. Well, let's leave it at Paris and let's continue. Then we have a Capsule. So Capsule is one of the managed services for Kubernetes that Scaleway offers, right? So we're creating a new cluster here where we define the version. We are using Cilium as our network container network interface, right?
Yeah, that was just an opinionation from me when I created it. I mean, I think you still support also Flannel or Calico. I think then you can choose depending, but I think everybody should use Cilium by now. So that was just that's the reason it's not configurable.
All right. Then we set some tags for the cluster. Additional resources should be deleted. Yes. Some auto upgrade settings, maintenance windows, and all that. Good. So we have the cluster. The cluster is defined there. Then we have some node configuration. So with this configuration, we are bringing all the information that's under the Pulumi YAML file under node. So this is the definition of the nodes that we will use.
Yeah.
So we can use small machines or big machines, right?
Yeah, I separated here, as you see, you can create in Pulumi different namespaces. So I created a namespace just for the node configs. That's the reason you see there with pulumi.config node. And then one for the cluster. Again, this was some opinionation of me. You could organize yourself differently. It's just to show that the capability of using namespaces inside your config.
All right. Then we set all that up, and then we associate it with the capsule that we created over here. So this will be part of that cluster thanks to this definition. All right. And then we export that information over here to make it available.
Yes.
Okay, good. Am I missing anything important?
No, not for now. I mean, the export path you see down, it's important that you can then say, for example, Pulumi stack output. You can get the informations if you want to use them programmatically somewhere, or as we see later when we introduce the concepts of stack references, to reference from one Pulumi stack to another. The ideas behind this, there could be separation of concerns. We could have an infrastructure team which provides you the Kubernetes cluster. They own it, they take care of it. And you as an application developer, as you see in the next chapter, will just reference on some of the properties, for example, the kube config, because you want to deploy something. And then, yes, you're not in charge of it. You cannot accidentally delete the stuff, or maybe there's an internal process that you have to order it from somebody else, but people can still use, and this is also the multi-language approach. They use the language that you confirm. You as developer, we will see later, can switch the language for your language of your choice. So that's interesting. But yeah, give it a npm install, because let's see how quick Scaleway is with creating
That's
the
true.
cluster.
Yeah, we need to then create the cluster. npm install has been run already. So we have the node modules folder there. And then we need to run Pulumi up. So so
yeah, and here comes now the thing. Yeah, sorry.
I can run it locally, or I can create an account, right?
Yeah. So Pulumi is an open source software. We have a solution, a SaaS solution, a Pulumi cloud solution, where you can store your states. It's also free, so you can choose now here in your case, do you want to use the cloud service, or you want to store it everything locally? I always prefer to let somebody else take care of my state, to not work around this. So maybe in this case, just use the cloud provider, the SaaS.
It should be as easy as creating an account with GitHub, right? And then I create a token. And there we go.
Now you leak the token.
Yeah, it's fine.
It's fine.
People won't abuse it at all. No worries. Do I just paste it here?
Yep. Maybe you have to move your VS Code a little bit to the left, because our little avatar's blocking the view.
So yeah.
So perfect. Okay, good. Now comes the thing we just mentioned before with the stacks. Now you can give your stack a specific name. I always prefer to use some kind of stages in this case. So yeah.
So I create a new stack, and I can use namespace /name. So
yeah.
Workshop. Or what do you recommend?
Just for in your case, for example, you don't have an org name because you have a private. I mean, not a enterprise organization. You can just enter the stage here. So in this case, name it dev. That's fine, or
dev.
live
All
stream.
right.
Okay, so
good.
Now Pulumi gives you now with the app, you have the preview functionality and the app functionality in one thing. So you get now the feedback of stuff which is changing. In your case, you didn't have anything installed. So Pulumi says, hey, it's a crate for every resource. And you get some of the outputs. As you see, some of the outputs are not filled with a value, because this depends when the cloud provider is running. So there is a separation. This is something we cannot determine during during the preview time, because it's values which gets generated from Scaleway. So in this case, you just see for kube config, there will be a string, but currently there's nothing inside. So that's the thing. And if you are d'accord with what you see, feel free to up it. And yes, I can't hear you. Diego, your voice is gone. Can you check your mic? No, I can't hear you. Can you hear me? Can you? I think you are gone, Diego. Okay, Diego is gone. So, okay. Then we just wait a little sec. Here's Diego back again. We cannot hear you.
Yeah, power went out.
Now
Everything rebooted.
Okay, perfect. Okay,
using my phone, but I'm back.
Okay, perfect. Then
where were we? Yeah, did you talk about this preview?
Just the preview functionality. This is clear. The cloud provider gives you feedback. Not everything is filled out in the moment, and we just need to run now the app. Maybe you can share your screen, and then we can see.
Oh, I'm not sharing my screen right because everything restarted. Real convenient.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, we're back. So yeah, I hit yes, I confirmed, and it started deploying everything.
Perfect. And we have a question from Secret Agent Man 00 on YouTube. Hey, Diego, Engin and Diego, I've been a web dev for years, but never needed to work with infrastructure. Any advice for experienced devs out there wanting to learn infra would be appreciated. So
that's a great question. That's kind of my situation, right? As I told you before. I never found the need of working with infrastructure as a developer or working for companies, because that was my job, right? Just working with the web, and someone else was handling the rest. But then I wanted to do more stuff for my own projects, my weekend projects, and then my home lab. And then if I wanted to work with clients on my free time, then I would need to have a proper not only the proper app, but the proper environment where it was going to be deployed. And handling that for many different clients then becomes a little cumbersome. So yeah, then I found the need. I think that was the first step, finding the need. Because if you don't actually find a reason to learn these new technologies, and you don't have somewhere to apply those new concepts, then it becomes like empty knowledge that you have in your brain. So my suggestion is try to find a project to work on and to start applying these new technologies that you will learn. What do you think?
It's similar to my experience to say, okay, sometimes in the current setup in the company, maybe it's not possible or not a scenario where we as developer have access to the infrastructure. So direct access. So most of our customers, for example, depends also on the size. Either they created a journey on top of it, so people can order the infrastructure and have then inside the ordered infrastructure in an account or in a subscription in the cloud provider, the possibility to then modify the infrastructure, or they have dedicated people inside the team who takes care of this. It really depends the situation. I saw every variation. From a learning point of view, I would, as you said, also invest the time, understand some of the basic concepts, how to create or how to define with infrastructure as code, some specific resources, how to apply them, and how to keep them updated. That's something, and there are many resources out there. There are many tools out there. One of them, Pulumi, as we show now here. And yeah.
That was my firewall.
Okay, that's your firewall is peeping.
Yep.
Okay,
But it's fine. It's fine. Good. It's just rebooting.
Okay.
For instance, deploy a firewall in your home lab. Create a home lab. That was my first step towards cloud. Actually, having a home lab that started with a Pi-hole, and then I quickly added a firewall to be in control of my network. And then I added a NAS to store my files. And then I started adding virtual machines on top of Proxmox. And that's how it started. I found the need. I found the need for me to start using these new concepts instead of just using managed services, which are cool, are great. But as a learning tool, I think it's a good approach to start deploying things yourself.
Yeah, absolute. And here we can see now cloud providers takes a little bit time to get the things up and running. I mean, we know all that some are quicker, some take even more time. So I did recently some EKS deployments, and EKS can also take up to 10 minutes to get an EKS cluster up and running. I found Scaleway quite quick in comparison. So I think this will take us now 500 seconds or something around this.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. And okay, the node count is 3. Maybe we could have also reduced it to 1 to get the node pool up and running quicker. But okay, that's fine.
There we go.
So,
we have it.
Perfect. And now comes one thing with the inbuilt secret management of Pulumi. Pulumi supports secret management. You don't need to create an additional secret store. It's already inbuilt. If you want to move out of it, there's also a way to change the secrets backend. And here we can see the kubeconfig is marked in the output as secret. So your state file doesn't contain any secrets. So you're not accidentally leaking some secrets. If we look into the index TS, if you open this, you will see the functionality behind this. When we scroll completely down, you will see here the pulumi.secret. So you can mark the output with pulumi.secret to hide it in the output. And there's also an option in the resources. So for example, sometimes the resources also leak some of the details as an output. Even if you don't put it in an export statement, it's still in the state file, because some cloud provider think like, hey, I just put the database password and the URL as a clear text into the resource. Doesn't mean everybody does this, but sometimes it happens. You can even go to the resource and mark specific property fields as secret. So Pulumi is also obfuscating them, and you not accidentally have properties inside your state file with some secrets in it. So this is also a very cool concept of it. But yeah, congratulations. That's
Right.
You already managed chapter 1. So let us see in the README if we did not forget anything to check.
Let's see. Then we run Pulumi stack output to retrieve the value from the stack.
Yeah, so that's the thing. We can then, as I said before, Pulumi stack output, we can get every values. Here in this case, we want to just save the kubeconfig and try out if the cluster is really up and running. So you can just copy paste the command. There should be the button right to it to just copy paste it, Diego. Yeah. And
then so we have the kubeconfig file.
Yeah, and now you can run whatever examples.
Whatever examples.
Yeah, just to see the nodes, and it should. Yeah, so we see all 3 nodes are up and running. The version is 1.27. That's also fine. And yeah, they're ready to go to continue. So we proved that everything is working. Yeah, it's working fine. So you can move on. And while you move on for the second chapter, we have also another comment coming from LinkedIn from Simon. I love the secret management. If it was one of the favorite things I discovered when I wrote a paper comparing Pulumi versus Biceps versus Terraform. So thanks for this. If you want to share, Simon, your paper with us, feel free to reach out also in LinkedIn, for example, with the Pulumi account. And we are happy to amplify your paper if it's possible to show it publicly. Okay, chapter 2.
Chapter 2. So we need Node and Docker, which are installed. I am already installing the dependencies with npm. And then we need to pass the Scaleway secret to Pulumi.
Yeah, this maybe you know the answer for this one when we look into the code. It looks like that you know, you need to when you use Pulumi with Docker, you need to be registered with the registry. So what I did here, I created a registry namespace on line 5 to 7. You know, just giving because now comes Scaleway offers also a container registry, which is very, very nice if you want to keep your containers close to the data center where your Kubernetes is running. But as username, it uses no login, and the password is the secret key. So maybe I missed the situation just to create an IAM or whatever dedicated IAM for this project and use the secret of the IAM without passing now your secret key. So sorry for this, maybe, Diego.
I have an environment variable, so it may work. We'll see. But yeah, should we go over the code? So yeah, you mentioned that we are creating a container registry, and then we are creating a Docker image out of the app folder, right?
Yeah. So there's an app folder.
It's amazing because you having to do this manually every single time, which I have because I'm new, so I'm doing everything by hand while I learn. Yeah, it's awful. But then here everything is automated. It's great.
Yeah.
And especially this part, creating the registry and then pushing an image to the registry. It takes a lot of copying and pasting IDs and names, faces, and all that. So yeah, I love this part.
The idea was here to say, okay, maybe the dev team are allowed to have several registries because it belongs to them. So that was my idea, to give the registry not into the infrastructure stack, but to the to the creation stack of your Docker image, just to say, yeah, could be that they are allowed to do this.
So I created a file where I stored the names of the keys for the environment variables because I knew I would forget them. And
okay, then let us change the part, you know. Then let us change one part in the code ad hoc and say,
sure.
So when you go into line 21, we don't get now the secret from the Pulumi inbuilt secret. Let us use the environmental variable. And to access the environmental variable in TypeScript or in Node, you have to say process.env.
Yeah. Then
the name of your environmental.
To pass that to the calling of the TS file, or will Pulumi be able to catch it from the general environment variables?
It should catch now from the. Now it's the TypeScript who's collecting this, and it should get this from. We will see when you do a Pulumi up.
Good. All right. We inspected the code, and now we build and push the image. So let's go Pulumi up, and then we need to create a new stack, right?
Yeah, because it's a new Pulumi project, so we create now every folder is our own stack on its own. So we can show here that we can run micro stacks. We don't need to have any more this monolithic huge files. We can split everything because we had that gives us the flexibility if the cadence is differently. So maybe the cluster doesn't change so much, and we don't need to run every time and wait for the output of the cluster.
Good. Should we name it dev01?
I would call it dev because it's a different. You can keep them all same name because it's from a different stack. The dev stage, for example. So that looks good, and hopefully.
it wants to create a registry namespace and then pushing an image to it. So yes, we want that. And now we wait. So it's building the image, creating the namespace, and then pushing the image to that, creating a registry and then pushing the image to that registry.
Perfect.
It's so cool.
Is there anything planned on Scaleway's side to support maybe in the future build packs or something to say, okay, I mean, this example could also run on one of your container services, but is there anything planned to pass maybe just a Git repository to your container registry and it builds it automatically?
To be honest, I'm not sure what's if it's part of the timeline. I would bet it has crossed their minds, the team's minds, but yeah, I wouldn't be sure.
Okay, cool. Because I saw this functionality from Azure. Azure does it in container registry. You can have container tasks, and then they build this for you using build packs, for example.
All right. Although we do have a feature request website that you can use to request whatever you think will be useful for you. And you can also let me know, and I'll pass that along.
Okay, perfect.
Do we have any more questions?
No, not now currently. I mean, Simon just shared his link to his document he created with the comparison. I have to look it after the stream. Thanks for this. And he's building the image. Hopefully,
it will take some time. So while it works on that, what else can we see? We have a fifth step that's optional. Test the application. Okay, we can run it and then make a curl request to make sure it works. Okay,
yeah.
And then after that, we have some stretch goals that we may be able to come back to if we finish on time.
Yeah, that's there are some. I mean, everybody who looks up this later in repeat or already watching the repository, I created also some stretch goal that you can change the from to the one from ChainGuard, so you get reduced attack surface. So you can just switch this. And if you run Docker Scout, for example, you will see the difference. So when Diego, the build is finished, we can just for the lol run a Docker Scout now on the one you created. Now you should see plenty of vulnerabilities, and you can then also use the image from ChainGuard and see the differences that you will have nearly no vulnerabilities. That's awesome.
All right. Scout is a plugin, right? Or is it part of the base Docker?
That's now part. I mean, they released it. I don't know in which version. One of the latest version, they introduced the Docker Scout possibility, which is similar to other tools like Sneak. Just scans your image and compares it to some vulnerability databases, and runs it.
Right. Well, so, that runs. We can check the app. So it's a regular Express server.
Yeah, it's really just a basic basic example. Good. I'm getting nervous with the building the image because it takes a little bit time. So what we did is using Docker in Docker, and it should normally work, but now I'm a little bit nervous that
trust the platform.
Should I trust the platform? Okay.
Yeah. Let's give it our best energy while we have a look at the code. Okay. Because we can work on one of the stretch goals, right? Add JSON support for the application. So what do you specifically mean by that? You wanted to send back a JSON formatted response, or do you want to receive a JSON request?
Yes, you could now create, for example, a new endpoint and say, I mean, here in this case, I just sent out the send. It doesn't send you out a JSON. I think there's also the possibility in Express.js that you also can respond with a JSON response, so you could envelope the stuff, or you create a new functionality, a normal get. The line 12. It's something to look up in the documentation of Express.js.
So here we can say message, and then actually JSON.
Look if there's send JSON or something like this, or is it only JSON?
Yeah, I think it's rest.json. And then you set the headers. So rest.headers, set header, content type.
Yeah.
Type. Building the image. Yeah. We focus on this. Application /JSON. Right, and this should tell the browser that's going to receive a JSON formatted message.
Yeah, perfect.
I guess it should work. Okay, so
can you maybe open another? Can you open another terminal?
Sure.
And make Docker images, for example.
Definitely, let's do that.
Just the Docker command, Docker images.
Oh, Docker images.
Yeah, just to see if the Docker
is there.
Okay, that works fine, and we see also that there is. Okay, this is your image where you.
Yeah, this is for the dev container, right?
So you have access to the underlying Docker engine, so it should work. Maybe it's just a little bit slow. Let us. It says still building the image.
Let's check, meanwhile, if Docker Scout is available on this version. Scout is not a Docker command. Okay.
Okay, then it's the version which is installed on the doesn't
Maybe
contain this.
Doesn't include it.
Okay, so what could we do now to get this up and running? To not blow up our story. So you could now just, in the second window, you could do a Docker build by hand. So that could be something. So when we go back to our Pulumi build, so this is something we need to check.
Okay, then here we have our Docker file. Where is it? No, is it inside the app?
It's in the app, yeah. So you could go back to the other terminal.
Yeah.
And cancel this one.
All right.
Okay, so this is not working. So we can then go into the code of
01.
Yeah, 01 index. Okay, so now you could just comment out the line 11 to 24.
So building this is not going to
and
happen.
then the line 26 you can comment out, and then you can run Pulumi up again because we want to have the container registry endpoint, and then you just push by hand.
This, and I will use the same stack that we created before, right?
Yeah. So it should give you now an update. It should say, hey, there is a change. Perfect. So you say yes.
What's the change?
It's just creating the image registry because it did not finish the Docker build, so it doesn't appear into the thing. So so this is now your registry endpoint. Yeah.
This is only an API call, right? So it doesn't take time.
Yeah.
And this is our registry URL.
Yes. So now you can go to Docker build.
Docker build.
Dot. And then -t. For
let's tag it. Yeah. What do we want to use for the tag?
Can you look into the code, what we entered in the initial code, in the index.ts? What did we give it as name? My app was the name.
My app.
Right. But with the registry string before, because you want to push it to the Pulumi, to the Scaleway registry.
Indeed. Yeah. This is the step that you have to do it manually every time. It's boring. Got it.
So
Anything
let's
else
hope
we're missing? No.
that's perfect. It's really
Right,
weird
so
that it took this time. It looks like
it's the curse of the live streams.
I don't know why he because the Docker engine is working, but it just takes so much time to download. We are on a remote server. It should not take.
Maybe it's my network is using my phone.
No, you are on the remote server, so it should not.
That is true indeed. Yeah, that's one of the beauties of using this kind of approach
Yeah,
with
but
DevBot.
But I still struggle to understand why he takes so much time to download the base image. So that's really, really weird.
No 20 Slim, should be Slim.
What kind of a machine did you provisioned on your side? Is it a huge
That's
machine?
a Pro 2. I believe it's a Pro 2. Yeah. So it's not the greatest, but it's not the smallest.
Okay.
It's an average one. Actually, it was the default one.
I use a Play 2 Micro, so normally that should be.
This one is even bigger. Yeah.
Yeah, the other one is even bigger. So I'm wondering why it takes so much time. What is the issue there? Okay, now we need to improvise a little bit. That's not a problem. So can you just
see that we are using a different region here? Because we are using Paris, one in the first one, and then here we are using Amsterdam. It's a bit further away.
Okay, for the Docker build, it should not be the issue.
No,
I mean, he created
have anything to do with it. Yeah.
Yeah, he created the Docker registry, but here, as we can see, the Docker pull takes ages. Okay, that's not a problem because I have already created
You're prepared.
A server, so we can just switch this.
You may be wondering, why am I so relaxed? We do this kind of live streams often here at Scaleway, and we have these hacking sessions where we expect things to fail. So yeah, I'm kind of used to it.
Okay, then it's perfect. Can you try? I just put it into the private chat. Can you just?
Sure.
Oh no. Where should I put this that you can see this? Can you just pull this image down and just tag it then? And
good. And then
without the HTTPS beforehand, so just
without the
Yes.
Okay.
Docker pull.
Got it.
Okay, so other than that, I think the engine is screwed. Okay. Okay, let us jump over this chapter. I think that's not a big deal because this chapter is not so important, because for the deployment we can just change the image to something else. So
Sure.
if we head to 0.2 and we have to just check afterwards why the devbot takes so much time, it could be related to.
Let's jump into 0.2 then, deploying the app.
Yes, so now we switch the language.
Yeah. So yeah, go. Yeah, this is gibberish to me.
Okay, that's good. Then
so we're importing a bunch of things.
Yes.
Cool thing that you can import from the GitHub repo right away. That's cool. And then we have Pulumi run right away. And what are we doing here?
So now we come to the concept of stack references. If you go for the Pulumi YAML, for example,
let's go.
All
right.
You see that I created here 2 configs. I just wanted to have it configurable. So because now in your case, we have to change now the stack reference. So we can see here the infra stack gets collected from the from my account, Diri and Scaleway Workshop Infra Dev. The app image reference, which has, for example, the name of because we export also the name of the image because we need this, comes from the second stack. So what you need to do now is you go to your command for your terminal, for example, and just go up when you did the Pulumi up for the infra stack because we need to just collect the name. Or you can go to the Pulumi cloud application if you want, which is quicker for you.
Sure. Let's try the Pulumi app. And it opened on my laptop's monitor. Here it is. Nope. There we go. All right, got it here.
So when you go to stacks on the left side, you should see now all the stacks. Okay, so now we need to get for the first part. So when you click on the Scaleway Workshop Infra one.
Infra one, yeah?
Yeah, and you click on it, then you should see, you see now the stack name, and it's inside your organization. It's your username. So you just need to change now the username in the code. On the left top, you see the organization. So the stack references are always built with, when you use the cloud, for example, organization name. In your case, it's because it's very small, Java.
Yeah, my GitHub handle.
Yeah, your GitHub handle. So you just need to go into the Pulumi YAML and change the DRN, which is my GitHub handle, or the Pulumi organization name, to JavaScripter. And the second one also. And as we keep everything the same, you didn't change anything, it should be working. So this is one part where we get the information, because the infra stack looks for the kube config when you go into the main Go, and the app image reference would look up the name of your image. So when you open the main.go again.
Wait, this completed. Apparently there was an error retrieving credentials.
So that could be...
But Docker images, but we have it, so it's here.
So what could be the problem? So you could do a Docker logout just in case, and we could try again to make the build. Okay, so now you could do a Docker build again. You have it probably in your
Docker build, and then the name is
my app. Different. You can just give it my app again because we want to try again.
Sure.
You see, that's you are in. What does it say? He says.
And the file, what? Sure, install it, but quietly.
Fails to solve end of file. Okay, could be. This is really strange. Okay.
Right.
Did not work.
Set the working directory from Node 20 Slim. What if we change the base image?
You could try a Docker pull with the base image name, just to see if it's.
Let's debug live. So yeah, as I was saying, we do these kind of things every Friday at Scaleway Sessions. You are more than welcome to join us.
Okay.
You can find us on YouTube. And this Friday, we will do a live stream, kind of like this, hacking on stream, where we will work with an previously unknown programming language to try and query some kind of server. That's the base idea. Things will change and things will fail. So more than welcome to join us.
Yeah, that's fine. Okay, so yeah, we do the Docker build is now. Yeah, you see now it's working. I don't know why.
Computers, man.
This is really bizarre. Okay, now you can do your. Can you try this again in the Pulumi program? If we go back again to the index.js, activate again everything. So just
so step number 2, right? No, step number 1.
Yeah.
And then we were here.
Yeah.
So do I just run Pulumi up?
Just uncomment the comment. Yeah, perfect. Right. And then give it a try again, and hopefully it should work now. I don't know what was wrong. Probably something with the credentials. Okay, so he wants to create an image. That's fine. And the image already exists. So Docker credentials, connection refused. He always wants to do this Docker credential stuff. And then he...
What's the deal with the end of file?
Could be related to our...
It was a different terminal. The one where I looked out, it was different than this one. Maybe cache. Nope.
Okay. It could be related to the OS environment, because you saw that we removed the password login and so on from the image. So what you could try is to also change the spec again.
Sure.
To what we had before, and just stop sharing your screen and just follow the step in the... no, you don't. You can.
Since I have it in an environment variable, I could potentially just pass a reference to environment variable. In the
it didn't pick it up. Let's just assume it. So let's follow the step with the Pulumi send config. Just enter this, and and now he will ask you about.
So okay, so I'm not supposed to pass it to put my environment variable, my secret here, but in a prompt, right? Beware. We can do this by. So if I invoke this.
So and now you can copy paste the real value of your secret there.
Stop sharing for a while.
Yeah. Just get the property in, just in case that this is working.
Nope, that wasn't it. This was it. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Maybe it's there. Anyone in the comments has experienced something like this? Do they have any suggestions for these weird issues?
I mean, I tried it on my machine before. That's the classical one, and it worked. Exactly. But I did not. I assume it could be this thing that he expects the credentials, because we use the stuff. Just try it out. I mean, and then revert the changes in the index.ts to the beginning, and then try again a Pulumi up, and hopefully it will work. So then
I'm sharing again.
Perfect.
So are we back? Yeah. Okay. So I'm running Pulumi up one more time.
Perfect. Let's hope that this is fixing it. Okay. Yes. Okay, this is not fixing it. Then we have any. Okay, then you can go to your second window and just do a Docker push there, because we know that it's now working. So you can say
let's push it.
Yeah.
So it's there. We have that image, Docker images. Ooh, it's a lot of text. This is it. Okay.
Yeah.
Docker push, and then how do you, I don't remember the
Just the name of the image. Just the name of the image. Yeah.
And then I need to say no login, right?
And yeah, minus user no login, minus u no login. And it should prompt no you login. Now for the... or just without the minus u. Just delete the stuff. It should give you a prompt, or we need to make a Docker login before. So, okay, then you need to do a Docker login with the URL of your registry.
Which is...
yeah.
This one. And retrieving the credentials. So it's somehow related with my credentials and my workspace.
Okay, then let us jump over this. I think that's not this important. Let us not waste the time. We need to check this with the dev pod, why it's... I mean, he asked you now for the username. Can you just type no login? I don't know why this error message is coming.
Weird. And then
you need... the key from Scaleway.
That's again my secret, which I need to retrieve one more time. So I'll be back with my screen in a minute.
Perfect. So
computers,
it's always, you can try this 10 times, and then when you do it
live demos, and and then I need to share my screen one more time. That's why you can see my head. And I'm sharing now. And login succeeded.
Perfect. And now Docker push should also work perfectly.
Docker push the whole thing, which is RG. Does it autocomplete? Nope. (403). Permission denied. What am I missing?
Are you not part of the organization we are working on?
I should be. Yeah, those are my credentials. Let's see, continue registry. We have the workspace, yeah. Docker push, yeah, that's the name of it. We already tagged it with RGNL CW Cloud. Did we use that name? Yeah. Yeah. One more try. I'm doing Docker push. The URL for the namespace, registry, and then the name of my image. And something failed again for the tree.
Okay, no problem. Then let's close this chapter. I mean, this is something we have to check. That should be not a problem for the next chapter. So let us look into the 0.2.1, how to deploy now with Pulumi workload onto Kubernetes.
Yeah.
We have the main go. So the idea is now when we scroll down to reference from line 20, the image reference. So we need just to remove this reference to some Hello World image. So if you scroll down.
If I scroll down to...
Yeah, you should see now here, the line 50. He will get now the image name from our image reference, but this is something we don't... 51. So we can just delete the app image ref get string output part. So everything after the image colon can be deleted, and we hard code now an image name into it. So the idea again, just while you're typing this, we use the stack reference. We exported in, theoretically, we exported the image name, which is a generation of the registry name and the image name. highly dynamic as an export parameter, and just use it. So we don't need to think about what is the image name, what is the version, for example. Here in this case, we need just to put it by hand into it. So you can, the one I sent to you, the hello world container from me, the hello server one, just enter this one.
Coding.
And with pulumi.string, so we have to use pulumi.string, the method.
Right.
That's the difference between the Go version of the SDK of Pulumi and the JavaScript version or the TypeScript version. We need now to set this helper function of Pulumi string to translate a classical string into the Pulumi string object.
Right, regular strings and then Pulumi strings.
Yeah, that's fine. And we have the version latest, the HTTP. I don't know why you always put HTTP in this. You can delete the first part of the line 51. You're not finished with this.
Oh, you mean this? Okay.
Yeah, this has to be deleted. Perfect. So we get the hello server. And now just let me check if the port 4000 is the right one in this example. Can you change the port to 8080, please?
Sure. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. So if we scroll also down, so now we create the Kubernetes deployment manifest, as you can see. So this is the classical, if you would ever see the YAML manifest, you would see that some of the properties are very equal, but now we have the advantage, we can use a type-saved language. And yeah, the target port has also to be changed on 8080. So now we create a service. We say, hey, the service is available on port 80 and maps to 8080. That's completely fine. Yeah, that's it. And we create a Kubernetes service. You should normally, I think you worked with Kubernetes before, so that should be very familiar to the approach with YAML. Instead, you could use now Go to deploy.
Yeah, it's code. Even though it's a language that I am not familiar with, Go, it's code. So I can just spend a bit of time having a look and understanding, and it gives me a flexibility to think that I can change this in the future and hook it up with something else within my pipeline.
Perfect. And yeah, now just head into the 02 folder and give the Pulumi up procedure. And as you see, it's similar than before. Heading into the folder where your stack is defined, we changed in the Pulumi YAML the definition to your stack reference. So we should get the kube config from the stack number 1. Yes, we had a little bit issues with the creation of the image, but yeah, we can just switch this.
Yeah, so I'm running Pulumi up now.
And then again,
I need to create a new stack, and we settled on naming them def, right?
Yeah. Again, completely free. You can name it as you wish. It's just now for the example.
It's downloading a plugin.
Yeah, it's Pulumi is he's now seeing, hey, I need the Kubernetes provider, and he's downloading the binary of the Kubernetes, because Pulumi in the background, when you do a Pulumi up, it starts the language host, which is a microservice, and it starts the Kubernetes provider, which is a microservice, and all the communication happens via gRPC on the machine. So that's a thing. So Pulumi architecture is actually an engineer colleague also described this as a microservice architecture which accidentally runs on your machine. So now we come to the situation of Go. Go is very, very not forgiving if you have declared some variables and you don't use them. So we can just go to line 20 and just remove the stuff. We don't need the line 20 to 23. So, okay, and give it a go. Because we don't reference now anything from this one.
All right. Okay.
That's perfect. So now
we'll
Perfect.
So it needs to create a Pulumi stack, yeah. Kubernetes, use the Kubernetes provider, create a service, and do a deployment, right?
Yep.
I
And
want to perform this update, yeah.
And in theory, you should see now also the stack reference. So you see in line 1, he say read Pulumi stack reference. And you can see he created the provider also successfully. So that was fine. So we got the kube config and perfect. We got also the load balancer address. So Scaleway capsule also provisioned a load balancer. In theory, if you do a curl or opening the browser, you should see now our hello world.
Hello world. It's there. We did
Perfect.
it.
So that's really good. So now we can head. That was a little big. We lost a little bit time on the Docker part, and we definitely need to discuss and to check this if it's the dev space issue, why he comes up with the credential part. But hey, that should not matter now. So let's head over to the GitOps approach, because we all know nobody wants to use a kubectl or whatever to just push changes. Everybody wants to use a GitOps backend. So in this case, we use also a GitOps backend.
Yeah. So we have a Flux CD.
Yeah. Did you ever work with Flux? I mean, what do you prefer?
No, I haven't. But as soon as I heard of it, I've been trying to find an excuse to use it. So this is the perfect moment.
It's really cool. I mean, yeah, people prefer either one or even both. I mean, there are even a project called Flamingo where you can use Argo to run Flux, for example. So it's a sub project, and you can combine both using Argo for the UI elements, for example, but Flux underneath to distribute the stuff. And you see also in Argo then the Flux components. That's very interesting if you want both. For me, it depends which one I choose. Everything has its advantage and disadvantage. So here in this case, I just wanted to show using Flux. There is no UI in Flux, so it's a little bit more centric on the kubectl or whatever system you use for observability to know, hey, is everything rolled out or not, having an event system connected for giving alerts and so on. So that's a thing. There is a UI from Weaveworks, but yeah, it's not a part of the core project. So.
All right. So we have the prerequisites. We need to clone the hello server repo.
If you want to do any changes, you don't need this. I think we don't have any time to show this now.
We'll trust the author to have done a good job.
Yeah.
Okay, then we go into a folder and then download the dependencies. So cd. Wow, that was fast.
Perfect.
Now we need to retrieve the output from the cluster deployment. So the stack reference. And that's defined here, right? And this one was the one that was using my GitHub username.
Perfect. I think you get the sense out of it. So you see, with the third project, you get
slowly easing into it.
That's good.
Okay, now we need to set it up, right? So this will read the pulumi.yaml file and will set this.
You did it now. I mean, the Pulumi config set is when you don't want to do it in the YAML with copy paste what you did. So actually, already you were one step. I mean, you IQ 1000. You've managed to not use the CLI, so that's fine. So that's another
or
approach.
Maybe that was the other way around. Maybe I should have used the CLI in order to not update the files manually.
Yeah,
but it's fine. It's there. Okay. Yeah, so we can skip this because I already did manually. Now we need to deploy the stack. This is already done. Pulling me up, right?
Yeah.
We just jump in.
Perfect.
Let's check it again. Create a new stack. Yes, sir. It's going to be called dev. And now we wait.
So for everybody still following or watching the re-record, again, it's here we're using the microstack approach. So we separated everything into our own stack. So that's the reason Diego has to create every time first a new stack. And using then the config references for all stacks. He could even overwrite this. So when he creates in the future a prod stack, he could get the stack reference also from the prod infrastructure. That looks good. And
all right. So my stack will perform an addition of the Kubernetes provider, Flux, and gets the Hello server repo set up. Okay. Good.
yeah. And while this is deploying, we can have a look into the code, and I give you some of the new mechanisms, some feedback on this one. So
let's have a look.
Again, Go, you mentioned.
Yeah,
Go.
importing references. Yeah, now I kind of know some Go.
Yeah, and we create programmatically, we create the Kubernetes provider in 20, putting the kube config in, we received. So this can run completely on a CI system. Doesn't need to be set anything because it retrieves the kube config. We enable server-side apply. That's quite handy. And now comes the most important part, is the deployment of Flux. We see we create a new Helm release. That's very important because I mention this every time. It's sometimes very important, even if you use a programming language, to be not disconnected from the ecosystem. So Pulumi integrates very well with existing things. So we cannot, it's clear some things are already out there and we just need to consume them. In this case, the community created a Flux Helm chart. I don't want to own this. I don't want to write this in Go completely fresh from scratch if there is no need. So in this case, I just reuse the one, set some values or overwrite some stuff. And here in this case, I did not overwrite anything because we just deploy it like this. And here, what Pulumi is doing under the hood programmatically and not CLI is executing the Helm install underneath on the code base. So that's quite interesting here. And then we create, everything gets deployed, and then we create the Git repository to tell Flux, hey, this is the place to look up the Helm chart or to look up the Helm chart definition, because we deploy the Hello server itself as a Helm chart again. So that's the thing.
Okay. Right. Okay. And yeah, Git repo. Okay.
So I don't use a tar file for the Helm package to download from a file server. It really clones the Git repository, and there's a Helm chart inside. So that's also simulating a little bit that maybe in your company you created a repository with a folder called deploy.
Right. Let's quickly check it out. So we have a folder called delivery, then inside charts, right?
Yeah.
And over here, chart. All right. So the repo is telling it what to do.
Yeah. So it's like you execute Helm install via file system and not via repository link. So that's quite interesting.
Great. Okay. Great. And then, we define the repo, and then error handler. What is this part? Wait.
Yeah, the custom. Error. Yeah, the custom resources. As I said, Helm installs some CRDs, and then we create from this CRDs, we create a custom resource, in this case called Helm release. And this is every moving piece Flux need to deploy the stuff. So Flux will see. There is a Helm, a Git repository where to look up the stuff. And then we have the Helm release where we say to Flux, hey, now release please the hello server one with some properties. And this is now the second part. So we can use Pulumi to create custom resources from custom resource definitions, and the Kubernetes engine will just understand this, deploys it, and then the Flux controller will see them and do some actions on them. So that's completely fine.
Cool.
As you can see, we have some dependencies. So, for example, we tell Pulumi, hey, wait, when you scroll a little bit down.
Down, yeah.
So 111, that depends on. So we say to Pulumi, hey, wait, that the release is done before you apply this resource. So Helm release has to be created, and then he. So in this case, we force Pulumi to keep an order, because sometimes you just want that this step has to be created beforehand. Pulumi does some ordering in the background, but sometimes it makes sense also to set a specific order. So here in this case, I really told him wait for this.
No, it's really cool. Yeah, the ability to do this is really cool. So new custom resource will wait for these two to happen beforehand.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's nice.
Oh, right. And then
because otherwise you will deploy it and the Helm release is not finished and there's missing CRDs and you get an error message and so on. So this is the thing. Just keep an eye on this.
Got it. And that's one of the reasons this completed successfully.
Yeah. And now you can get your kube config out again and try to see get pods, for example, and see if everything is deployed.
So yeah, let's go to step 3, right? Oh, over here, the README. So we were here, Pulumi up, and then I can run this.
This is just if you want to kick off the system a little bit. So you can use the Flux CLI to force Flux to do a reconciling before, because you can set times. But if sometimes you don't want to wait, maybe in your dev system that he waits 5 minutes before he checks again for a change, then you can force it to reconcile. But to see if everything is deployed, you can just get the kube config from the before step and look at get pods, for example, that everything is deployed.
So kube config run kubectl or I don't get it.
In 0.0 cluster setup, you just downloaded the kube config. You remember? Yeah. And you can just reference on this one and say, okay, kubectl minus kube config, and then.
Got it. And it's in the 0.0 cluster setup. And then do I name it like kube config?
Yeah. And then get pods, for example, to get all the pods.
Get dash pods.
No, it's separated, sorry. Okay, now we see they are running. And now we can say get services to see the new load balancer entry from our second deployment.
Get services, all right.
Yeah, so we see that our Helm server Helm release has an IP address there. You see, it's the 51,159. So the external IP address. So when you run this also in your browser,
and port 9000.
Yes.
Hello. From Gopher. Okay.
Yeah, that's nice.
We have something on our screens. That's amazing.
Nice. We deployed now. And this is something so we did not say to the API, hey, apply kubectl apply deployment service. We just deployed the GitOps operator pointed to a repository, and this repository, so when the development team is working now, they just can concentrate maybe on your application stuff where there's a Helm chart inside, for example, and can just work like this, and Flux will pick up any changes when the Git commit ID changes.
Pull mode, right?
Yes. So no need to change any.
I don't have to touch anything, right? I just need to push, and magic will happen.
Yeah.
Amazing. That's what I like.
Perfect. Okay, then the question is now: should we tackle the bonus chapter? Do you want to see the IDP step, or should we skip on this one?
I mean, I'm already invested, so if you're up for it, and if our audience is up for it, let's do it.
Okay.
So you tell me, do we just jump into step 4?
Yes, we can open the documentation maybe in the browser mode.
This one looks better, yeah.
Yeah, that's much better. Okay.
So what are we doing here?
Yeah. We're going to use Port if you click on the link. So Port is, you probably heard everybody that internal developer platforms are a big thing. And there are several providers of this. One of the known one is Backstage. Probably everybody heard about Backstage. And we have also here with Port, it's an startup which created an approach to say, okay, let us think differently on developer portals. Let us use, for example, a low no-code approach to model our relationships between different blueprints, between different entities we want to observe, and create then the service catalog out of it. So you can create then from different data sources, you can push to Port, and Port will then show you everything listed up. You will see this later in a graphic what we built. So the idea is we start with a blueprint, define our model. You can use the UI, you can use the you can use Pulumi, for example, to define this, and then you take different data sources, and these data sources will then populate according to the blueprint the entities with all the properties, and you will see at the end a whole relationship. So you can navigate from your Kubernetes platform, you can see which services are running to up who owns the services and which additional services this team owns. So think about the classical approach. There's a person who is the owner of the Active Directory service to read out users. This is a service everybody wants to reinvent in a bigger enterprise. Now I can look up, I can go, for example, in Port, I can see, is there somebody already created a service like this? I can contact them, and then I can reuse their service, for example. And this is something, so you have a service discovery, a service catalog of what's all running, and you have also an inventarization of your infrastructure. You can see, okay, on which infrastructure runs what. Additionally, Port offers also so-called actions. You can create a self-service catalog of actions. So a developer can come in and say, okay, restart the service, scale the service up without that you need, for example, somebody in your ops team. The ops team can create the service provided as a self-service action to the dev team, and the dev team can then execute the stuff on their own. So really something to check out. It I really like this. And here in our last chapter, we just deploy Port. We deploy the Port Kubernetes operator, which then maps every workload in the Kubernetes cluster to a blueprint. You will see when we watch when we see it in action, and you will see then what is up and running.
All right, let's do it.
So
we need a port count, right?
Yeah.
I'm hoping I'll be able to just log in with GitHub. In-person demo? No, I don't want a demo. I want to create an account. Sure, let's sign up with Google. Email me if you have any questions about Scaleway. You can see my email there. And I'm not going to leak my phone. Yeah, that's not going to happen. So I can't skip
You don't
that.
need your phone. I think you just need to enter your organization. So just enter
test. Yeah, that one. And nope.
Just random numbers should be fine also.
Hopefully it will not depend on that later on.
It should not.
Do I want to start from scratch?
Yep, start. We don't use any blueprint because we're going to deploy everything. Okay, so this is now your empty.
Right.
The builder is empty. This is the UI where you could create now in a no-code approach your blueprints by hand. We do it by code now. The self-service field on the top is also empty because we don't have any actions currently. And the catalog should also be empty because we don't have any blueprints and any entities. So that's now
Right.
a clean state for you to work on.
So I'm guessing I will delete my credentials that are leaked now.
Yeah, you can regenerate them later.
Yeah. Okay, so I'll need that in a moment, I guess. I need to go into the folder and install dependencies. Let's do that. Number 4. Blazing fast. All right. Now I need to get the Kubernetes cluster outputs. So this is the step that we did before, where I manually updated the file. This time, let's do it properly.
Okay.
Like following the CLI approach. Yeah, iterate a new stack. That's going to be called def, and the value is going to be. Well, I'm using this as a scratchpad. I'm just gonna update it manually. Not manually, through the CLI.
Yeah, and if you open now the pulumi.dev.yaml, you should see that he overwrited now the default value in. So you see, that's what I mentioned. You can set it in the Pulumi YAML for all the stacks, and then you can overwrite now some specific configs for your stack. So perfect. This everything.
Yeah, so cool. So cool. All right, we have that. We have the credentials. So let's store it as environment variables. So we are working with the client ID. Yeah, leaked. Sure.
It's not a demo if you don't leak any credentials. So
yeah, and if it doesn't work and can't figure out why, yeah. So if we were playing a live streaming bingo, we will be doing just fine. All right, now do I just run Pulumi up? Sure, but on what? What's the code?
This is now the biggest part because here everything falls together. We're going to use now plenty of stuff inside here. So the stack references is one thing you should already know.
Capsule ID, yeah. We have we get the idea of the cluster, and then cloud provider blueprint. So
we use now a new provider, the one from Port, and create a blueprint similar to new Kubernetes cluster in the Scaleway part. We now just create a new Pulumi resource of type blueprint.
Okay. Oh, you can define the color.
Yeah, that's something you will see. So this is the so-called blueprints, how entities we define what properties. You see, everything is from me. I can design it like I want. There is nothing is given. You just have import string, boolean, object, and this kind of stuff. But how do you fill the stuff and how do you want to display the stuff is completely up to you. And this is the flexibility of creating a service catalog for your company. The framework like Port doesn't say to you, hey, you have to use this. They say, okay,
right.
define your own blueprint, show the properties which are important for you, fill the properties which are important for you. There are also some kinds of calculated property you could create. For example, the login for an HTTP site from different properties and put them all together. I mean, the possibilities are really, really huge. But as you see, yeah.
It's a lot. How about this region over here? You hard coded it as Amsterdam.
Yeah, this is something. For the demo, as you see, I fill out some of the entities with Pulumi also, so they don't coming dynamically. We should also create this with a dynamic approach. Port offers also, as I said, different ingestion methods. Here in this case, yes, of course, we should say our cloud provider is now in France, so just change it to your region.
Right. All right. So here we are using both Argo and Flux.
Yeah, so I created a blueprint for a GitOps backend. It could be possible in the future that you say, hey, I have a different cluster, we choose Argo. So it's already also defined. And then the definition, the filling out will be done dynamically in the back. I just prepared the blueprint and say, okay, there are two options in our company. We support Argo, we support Flux. And this is something you will see then in port displayed.
Got it. Cluster blueprint, and then we have different versions available. Okay. And the name over here. Cluster. Right.
So I randomly picked out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I randomly picked out some properties, that doesn't need to reflect any prod or real life scenario. I said, okay, what is interesting for me as a user? Maybe I want to see the name of the cluster. I want to see which version it has. And maybe is it an auto upgrade cluster or whatever, but you could extend this to all you need for yourself. So
right. And I was noticing that we were just using this before on the first step. So
yeah, and I get the informations out from there. So it's an approach to say, okay, I use the different stack again to populate my service catalog. That's one source of ingesting. And you see here, for example, the calculation, the cloud portal URL I get from a combination of the ID of the cluster plus the static part. And that's what I meant. You can create very cool stuff.
Yeah, it's really flexible. Lets you customize it to your liking. All right. Okay, which are the most interesting parts here?
When you scroll down, there comes now the important part. Okay, these are all blueprint definitions. You see, they can be quite sophisticated. So if we scroll a little bit down, that's again... so here you see how I release. Okay, that's the release. Okay, we scroll a little bit down. I thought that's the Helm release. That's still the blueprint stuff. Yeah, if you scroll further down. Okay, now we come again to the Kubernetes. So you see, we have now a Pulumi project with multiple providers. We have one for port, and now we create one for Kubernetes, again with our kube config. And now we deploy the port labs, because port offers also an agent which runs on your Kubernetes cluster, because somehow we decided now we want the data, some of the data, for example, the Helm releases which are installed, we want them dynamically from the cluster. So we install an agent from port on the Kubernetes cluster and tell them, hey, agent, this is the way you map the properties from Kubernetes to the properties of the blueprint. So you will see this later. That's really clever. Wow. And here we use, again, and now how do we deploy this? We deploy it via Flux. So we don't create a Helm new release. Exactly. We learned before, we just say use Flux to deploy the stuff. So again, a Helm repository, a Helm release. And here we see other fields. If you scroll down, Where is it?
Values.
Where is the value? Here. Now we come to the values field. You see, it starts with 365. We set now, because it's an Helm chart, we set now some of the values. And the interesting part starts now with line 376. Yes, of course, client secret and all the stuff. But here the port agent says, okay, if I get a Kubernetes resource from type deployment, what do I do with the values? So I told him, if you see a deployment, please create an entity in line 381 and start to map some of the fields of our blueprint. So you see now, it's the Kate's blueprint we defined on the top. And now we say, hey, use this blueprint and fill out some of the properties you get from your Kubernetes manifest. So .metadata.annotations comes from Kubernetes. And he creates now dynamically, depending on the workload of your cluster, entities of a specific blueprint. So that's the thing. So here we create the Kubernetes, because now we can dynamically create the Kubernetes cluster. And we can say now the engine, you see, we create now the title, it's Flux CD and so on. And because this is hard-coded now, I said, it's always Flux CD. I mean, we know we don't have Argo now running here, but we could also generate this dynamically. And you see now the Helm release. I map now the Helm release in line 392. And I create now a blueprint called Helm release. I mean, I create now an entity from the blueprint Helm release.blueprint and fill out the informations from my Helm release. So the chart and the chart version and the message, if it's successful, comes all from the Kubernetes stuff. So now I have an observability to my Flux engine. I could see in port if a Helm chart failed. I mean, I should see this also in my observability stack, using Cockpit, I think, from
Scaleway Cockpit. Cockpit.
But you see, that's the thing. Man, that's a big thing. Sorry to bombard you now with this stuff, but I just want to show you.
It's really cool. It's a lot of information, new information, most of it. But it's real smart, and it's really pushing towards efficiency, developer efficiency. You don't have to actually do this yourself, and you have a platform where you can, on the one hand, automate things. So talking about the Flux CD part of our conversation, just push your code, that's it. And then over here, you have the ability to see what's going on with everything. And I really like the ability to just have a spy installed in your cluster, getting all this information to further give you the ability to dig into what's going on.
Yeah, and imagine if you create now your alert manager. You could connect your alert manager, and you could show in port an entity of type alert when you defined it, and you could see for every cluster also the alerts in port if you want this, just to see some overview. Because you can send everything there, and then you could create, for example, a self-service action and say, hey, please snooze the alert because I'm working on it. And this is something the developers can do without having access to OpsGenie or to PagerDuty or to whatever system. They could, for the system, deactivate some of the properties. I just make up now stuff. So but deploy.
That's the cool part. You can imagine and start to imagine how you can further adapt this to your needs and to your team needs. It's amazing.
Perfect.
All right. So what do we do next? Could it be just doing Pulumi up?
Yes, of course.
Is it? Amazing. And that's it. Now we just wait.
Yeah. So, that's nice.
Got it. Yeah.
And
14.
now, fingers crossing that everything is working fine.
Will we be this lucky?
Okay, the Helm release, this is where the magic is happening. So this should be where we install the port agent. That should be also.
All right. While that runs, what shall we do next time for our next episode sometime in the future?
I'm completely open for everything.
Me too. Any ideas from the audience? Please let us know through the chat or do reach out to any or both of us. Any topics that you would like to see me exploring for the first time and see me failing and then learning because of those failures? I'm open to it.
Yeah, that's completely fine. Can you open the can you move the right side of the ID? Okay, perfect. So,
well, we have something.
okay, so
Not
what
the
does he
best, but
say? He says,
Pulumi stack.
okay, the namespace port Kate's exporter was not found. Okay, that's probably on me. So if we go back to the index TS, I probably, yeah, and if you scroll a little bit, I mean, yeah, the main goes, sorry, I'm mindful.
Yeah,
And
that was.
just a
Yeah.
little bit up, just slightly.
Here.
So, and a little bit more. Okay, we create here a names. So if you scroll a little bit up.
Right. I just.
No, that was too much.
Too much.
Yeah,
I was just trying to find the references.
Okay, so we want, you see, we want to deploy the port release, and we say to him, hey, deploy it, please, in the namespace port Kate's exporter. So there's a thing. And it looks like when we scroll a little bit up that we did not create the namespace for it. So that's on me. So now he currently tries to create the deployment of the Helm release in a namespace he doesn't know. So what we can do now is, let me look up the code also to just give you a quick hint on this one.
Sure.
So, he wants to create this. So now you could go into line 339, type and enter.
Yep.
And now we code stuff. We can say new. Do you get autocomplete when you type control space? Okay, you don't get autocomplete.
I don't think I installed.
Okay, no problem. I will let you know what is the code for this. So now you say v1 dot
v1.
Yeah, v1.
So v1 dot, yeah.
New namespace.
Namespace space uppercase, I guess.
Lowercase, please. The S is lowercase.
Namespace. All right.
Brackets.
Yeah.
And not the square brackets, the
curly ones.
Not the curly ones, the normal brackets. How do you say this in English? Parentheses. Okay, so context, ctx.
Oh, ctx.
Comma.
Yeah.
And now we have to give it a name. We can call it port namespace.
Port dash namespace.
Yeah, that's the ID of Pulumi. And then we say comma.
Yeah.
And then we say ampersand.
Right. How do I get my ampersand? So I'm using a split keyboard that's custom layered, and I cannot remember where's my ampersand.
You can copy the one in line 341 if you want.
Yeah.
Okay. So now v1.
v1.
And then names dot namespace args,
comma
the dot connected.
Oh.
So
Dot at the beginning.
Yeah, on the v1. Just go
Okay,
to the v1.
v1
Yeah.
dot.
And then namespace args, the N is capital and the A is capital only. So args.
Namespace.
Capital capital R. Args. RGS.
Args, the arguments. Okay.
Yeah, and then you can open again the what is the name, the
Parentheses.
Sorry, yeah.
Yeah.
And now we need to create. You can copy paste the line 344 to 347.
Sure.
Because it's the same. So now we just need to enter the metadata. Okay, and we don't need namespace, so 344, because we create a namespace, we don't need to create a namespace. Okay, and now you in line 340, you just type, for example, a variable name. You can call it ns, comma error.
Oh, right.
Because that's go, and then we say equals, yes. And now you can use the variable ns.
Right.
And go down to the line here. Yes. And here.
So I just pass it there?
No. Just remove the pulumi.string because the output of a Pulumi resource is already in the right thing. And then you say ns dot. And the output fields should be, just a second, should be ns dot metadata,
right,
dot name and parenthesis. Okay, and now you can type Pulumi up. So what we did now is we create a namespace beforehand, and we pass now the namespace in and are sure that can you show me the error message in the browser?
Error compiling.
So what does he say? He says in line 341.
341 is the first error. Expected a colon in argument list. Here.
That should be normally fine. Just a second.
Maybe no. Did namespace args needed a parenthesis or a curly brace?
It needs a curly brace. Sorry, similar to the to the one there. So that's.
Got it. No, it's fine.
Okay, then you can give it again.
Let's try it again.
So and now we have a diff. So you can check now. Let me see. Okay, we don't have v1 defined, so you can go to the 02 deploy app example. Go there to the main Go.
Yep.
And where is v1? And you can. Yes, you can copy paste the import of the v1.
So you mean which part? This line?
It's called core v1. You see in line 7. If you scroll up, just copy line 7, the core v1, and put it also up there. Okay, and now copy paste core 1, the variable name, because we just have to change. Either you change it to v1 there, or you go downstairs and change it downstairs. I say in the code, and then just change v1 to core v1. And also, perfect. And now try again.
Let's see. Yeah.
That looks much better. That looks much better. Okay. So I have to change this part. Maybe you make a pull request and enter the definition here. So
The undefined NS 341.
can you go to equals in free? You have to enter a column. So free for one. Before the equals sign, you have to put a column sign.
A colon. Okay.
Yes. So just
Like.
and then no space between, and yeah, like this. Okay, give it a go.
Go. Almost there.
Okay, and now the meta core one you have also to copy paste from the other example because this is also missing. So the meta v1 you can copy, and
So we'll replace this to meta v1.
yes, it's a little bit without any IntelliSense.
Oh, it was there.
Yeah. So
it was already
that's
there.
fine. Yeah, it's already there.
We coded without IntelliSense.
Yeah, IntelliSense is very important. Okay, that looks fine. So now we see he creates a namespace and he should then also deploy the release because now the namespace is there. Yeah.
So back when I first started working with the web, we didn't have any IntelliSense for JavaScript.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, it was many years before it landed and became popular.
Okay. Here in the main Go, you need now to add the provider also. I forgot about this. So because we created the Kubernetes provider programmatically, we need to set it into the name. So when you go to namespace, the definition of the namespace resource
340 something. Yeah.
You see on 337, you see Pulumi.provider Kate's provider. Just copy this part. I mean the whole part. The Pulumi.provider. Yeah, perfect. And just enter it in 345 because we have to say now to not use the default Kubernetes endpoint, which is normally set through your kubeconfig or something or your environmental variable. Because he tries to create it now on a different Kubernetes cluster on your local host or something. So here in this case, that was the error message. So now he created the namespace. Perfect. Whew, that was a thing. So that's perfect. So what you could do now is you can go now to port.
Right. If I go to port.
And yeah, you
have
see
something.
Now, it's already up and running. You see the Helm releases which are deployed. Perfect. Is there an error message? Helm install succeeded. You see that's coming now from your cluster. If you go to the Kubernetes one on the left side.
Yeah.
Left. On the left bar, you click on Kubernetes. You see this is your Kubernetes cluster up and running currently. You see the amount of nodes. You see Flux CDs installed. And now you can see on the bottom the related entities. You see the GitOps backends. Flux is running. You see the cloud provider.
Yeah.
Yeah, perfect.
There's 3 nodes. Yeah. Cloud portal. Gives me access to my console directly, the URL.
Yeah, that's the calculation we did. So you can jump into you see, this is something you can add. You can enter your cockpit dashboard, for example, if you want, if you installed cockpit. And you see now on the right side, the Helm releases also on this Kubernetes cluster in the bottom under related entities, you see Helm releases.
Helm releases, yeah.
And these are the Helm releases which are installed on this cluster in the revision, and this data comes all from the Kubernetes cluster.
My cluster directly. That's cool.
That's awesome.
And this is the agent, right?
Yeah, that's the agent who does now all the heavy lifting for us. So when you click on the builder in the navigation bar on the top, you see the builder. This is, for example, now the entity we created. When you click on the cross sign there, the arrows, you can open it. And you can see all the properties we create. As I said, I mean, that's the way you could now change stuff. We don't do this via, what's the name? Via the low code, no code approach to create additional entities and so on.
Yeah.
So that's one
It's
thing.
easier. It's more traceable.
Yeah.
No, it's easier to see.
Yeah, that's you. On the bottom left, you see you can open all of them in once. So when you click on the bottom left one,
Expand all.
yeah. So you see now.
There we go. All right.
That's
Okay.
awesome. So
it is.
And this
And
is
we
how
did
you
this
created
in under 2 hours.
under 2 hours. So that's a thing. It was quite challenging. So yeah, that's
With a
the
total
situation. Yeah. In your catalog, you see now all the informations. You have your clusters. So the whole story is through. We created now via simple commands. We created a cluster. We deployed Flux on it. We deployed application on top of it, and then used port to register everything to have an easy service catalog and discovery.
I'm amazed. I will take some time to have a look at this because it's so beautiful and encourages me to keep learning and changing things and breaking things and coming back.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I love
It's an
that you
amazing
liked
journey. Thank you so much for coming along with me and helping me navigate this first deep dive into Kubernetes. I believe I learned a lot.
Yeah.
I hope the audience learned through our mistakes. Well, my mistakes, to be honest.
Hey, I don't know what was it. It's the Dogger stuff. I think it's I have to check this again. Why the Dogger engine did not behave like we expected it, but
we will continue to learn based on that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been real fun. Thank you for having me during this couple of hours of episode.
Yeah, thanks that you came, and looking forward to do an additional workshop. And yeah, let us know via LinkedIn or Twitter or
Absolutely.
YouTube comments what you're looking forward. And yeah, thanks.
Yeah, please let us know. I'm guessing the final step of rolling everything back and tearing down will be done afterwards. Yeah, it's maybe boring for you folks. So yeah, I'll make sure to do this by myself and regenerating my credentials that were leaked.
Okay, then
I'll stop sharing. And there we are.
Yep. And then I say, yeah, have a nice